comfortably zoned with the Zigzag Man in Alameda, California, pushing on the doors of life marked pull and fighting the unholy trinity as we go. Big business, organized religion, and government.
We are back. Bronx Roots. Michael Preminger. David Hubler. I'm Ralph Tycho with the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network. I'm from Queens, but my grandparents are from the Bronx, so I get to sneak in Mashula Parkway the wrong way.
Right. We're going to take away your honorary citizenship if you in the Bronx if you keep talking about Mashula Parkway.
You don't like Mashula?
No, it's not correct. It's not even spelled that way.
But why then does everybody pronounce it that way? Or is it just me?
It's just you. It's just
okay.
You and one other guy in Minnesota.
Yeah, the guy in Minnesota. I don't know where that came from. I don't know where that came from. Mashula. I mean, if you look at the spelling, it's Marshallu.
Yes, it is.
L-U.
Of course.
L-bar.
But needless to say, I stand corrected. Sometimes I sit corrected.
Maybe it's just from maybe older people or with an accent would say Mashula. I don't know.
I think that's true. I think that's what it was.
I think that exactly what it was because my grandparents were that way with first generation, and they did speak with the accent, and so there you go. But I thought of asking you both. You're from the Bronx. Your first westward experience, and what was that about? Start with you, Michael.
My first, I don't know if going college. I went to Ithaca College, and I know that's not what you're talking about when you're talking about West, but that was the
migrate
first time.
to live, basically.
I'm sorry, what?
Migrate to live, basically.
Oh, to live? Well, I came out to California to live, or so I thought. I've been here. I came out a few times in the early 70s, and then in 75 I came out here for the first time to stay. But I didn't give up my apartment in New York till last week, so I was.
It was rent controlled, right? So you couldn't either.
Yeah. Oh boy, I wish.
Actually, that made a difference in people's lives.
Oh, sure.
Not should stay, and wow, they passed those apartments on in their wills. If I'm not mistaken, you were able to do that. Yeah.
Oh, I never thought of that. Anyway, that was my most westward. Well, obviously, most was back then. And
what precipitated it? Just out of curiosity.
Oh well, I'm doing stand up. The first few times I came out was to do TV, and then. Most of my friends, many of them, had moved out here, and I had met a girl out here who later became my wife, and so it was the show business that brought me out here.
What did you miss right off the bat?
Oh, the energy of New York. Just going outside, and there was obviously a lot of people. It was just a whole different feel than here, which I still have not gotten over. I can go out today and take a walk in the park, and yes, there are some people having picnics, but I've never really been I've only been downtown in Los Angeles a few times, and I know there are areas that are just packed with people, but I've never been there in 40 years.
Wow.
Because there's no, unless you're going to a show at some of the theaters, there's no reason for me anyway to go downtown.
So you're a true suburban.
In Manhattan, you are downtown. So
yes.
I wish I had a more exciting answer.
No, that's a good answer. And you live the life of a suburbanite with urban mentality.
Yes, I never would have thought that, because to me, going on vacation, that's why I loved London and Paris, because people, that's a vacation to me. Going where there's a lot of people. I know that sounds crazy. Well, not crazy, but
right.
I'm not somebody, let's go get a cabin and sit by the lake. I'd last about an hour. I can do that at home. I just turn on the water and sit in the kitchen.
You want a waterfall, you walk over, you get the spritzer.
Yeah, exactly. If I want fish, I'll take out a can of tuna and put it by the sink.
Right.
And that sounds good to me.
Yeah, right. I'm a city kid.
And you could take the boy out of New York, but you can't take the New York out of the boy. How does that apply to you? Let me ask David for a second, if I might, to hear his voice this morning. How does that? You can take the boy out of New York, but you can't take the, that expression. How does that apply to you?
Well, it sets your ways in so many ways, so to speak. You create a set of points of enjoyment, things that you believe belong together. Crowds are one of them. And I think that's one of the main reasons that so many people from New York, before there was all sorts of air travel and things, would go up to the Catskills. There were many people up there. After Labor Day, there was no one there. But between Memorial Day and Labor Day, the Catskills was filled with New York people. And, and they brought with them their customs and their food preferences. I'll give you one quick example. I had the last couple of days I was spent at a very big hotel over in Maryland. I was part of the commencement exercises at the university I work for. And so we would eat in one of the restaurants down there. And it was, it was a buffet-style breakfast and everything. Well, they had really nice lox, and I couldn't resist taking the lox. They didn't have one bagel. They had no cream cheese. What do you do with lox without a bagel and cream cheese?
Really?
Yeah. The first day I thought, I thought I'd missed it, Well, I had the lox, but I figured I was in a hurry. We were getting ready to do some things, and I must have missed it. But the second day, I purposely went very slowly down the rows and where all the buffet tables were. Salmon, the lox was there, but no bagels, no cream cheese. So that's the kind of thing that you grow up with, and it's a natural, it's an acquired taste. But once you've acquired it, you don't want to lose it. And I think that's all part of it.
Special taste.
I never heard of that.
So much acquired. I can't imagine anybody not liking it the first time.
Well, nobody in the hotel had a chance to try it for the first time because there were no bagels. Most, if you go back to a Marriott hotel, you don't get good bagels. The Mormons were never known to make bagels, and so you don't get decent ones, but at least they have them. As a sort of a nod to ecumenicalism, they put out bagels, but not in the case of this particular hotel, which is.
David, even if it was on a piece of rye bread or something.
Yeah, they had all these little muffins and, little croissant things.
That makes no sense.
I know.
I wonder if it was done for ecumenical practices in Utah. I can't imagine that expression coming up very often. Well, you got to get some ecumenical stuff into here.
Yeah, bring in the bagel.
Bring in the bagels and the Jews.
Maybe I'm not one to talk because, like a Mexican, I'll order a tostada, which I only figured out what that was a couple of years ago, but no beans and no avocado. And as my daughter said, so you're not really ordering Mexican food, you're ordering lettuce and tomato. Well, that's true.
No, right.
Well, there's a brand of food called Tex-Mex. I don't know if either of you have had that, and if you know the difference.
I don't know the difference.
However, I will say, before coming to California, I never even had Mexican food in my life.
Oh, me either.
Well, Mike and I talked about that. There was no such thing like guacamole dip. I mean, who ever heard of guacamole dip in the Bronx?
Hello.
Remember? In fact, I had some the other night. We went one of the nights we had dinner out in a Rosa Mexicana restaurant. I think it's part of a chain. But they bring over this big bowl of guacamole dip and chips. And, I mean, there was no such thing.
It's been so long that I'm in California, I am adjusted to it, and it's almost like I never had Mexican food. But I left New York at 20, and like I say, I don't remember one time going out for Mexican food whatsoever.
No. Chinese food, yes. Italian food, yes. But that was the extent of it. Nobody went for French food either. You didn't go out to a French restaurant in the Bronx.
French food?
Yeah, French food. Yeah.
Well, California is up on New York when it comes to Mexican food for sure. But New York is certainly up when it comes to Chinese food. Do you find that to be true in Southern California as I do in Northern California?
It's been so long that I can't compare it. One thing the last time I had good orange beef was at a small Chinese restaurant in Manhattan, and I haven't had anything that good for Chinese food in 35, 40 years.
Wow.
But I mean it's okay, but nothing. And I'm not a shrimp and scallop eater, so that eliminates half the menu. But they have nice tea out here. It's very good tea.
And soups. I like this.
I'm joking. I'm kidding. Hey, there's a good restaurant that has good tea. Oh, thank you, Mike.
What a tip.
Yeah, what tea, and they have nice water glasses. So you just eat an egg roll and you go, thank you.
I remember going to a Chinese restaurant in Boston, and actually, I'm sorry, it was here in Washington, and it shows you how times have changed because there's a large Chinese area in Chinatown in D.C. And the waitress was an American Caucasian, and the one thing that when you went to a Chinese restaurant in the Bronx, all the people, the wait staff, they were Chinese.
Right.
I mean, you never saw somebody from what was that show, Mel's Diner, type waitresses serving you Chinese food. But in this one in Washington, that's what it was. It was just ruined the whole atmosphere, for me. I thought, what kind of strange town this is,
Well, I know we've talked about this. I've mentioned this, and without sounding, I don't know even what the word is, but the delis out here, behind the counter, I think I mentioned once that one deli they're still investigating because they actually found some Jews in the kitchen.
Hold over. Yeah. Legacy Jews.
There's no. It's all Hispanic.
Yes.
Behind the counter. Not that. But so I really do wonder who makes the food in the kitchen. It can't be that different.
Right.
I know you guys would love this show that Peter Trunk and Ronnie Rabinovitz and I recorded with Murray Trachtenberg, who was the general manager of Carnegie Deli.
Wow.
We tracked him down for an interview. He's an old New York Giants fan. He's in his 80s. His mind is still as sharp as hell.
Did he bring you some corned beef?
If he can get to California, if he could send it out to California, he told you, you got to listen to it. It's on Comfortably Zoned. Put in Murray Trachtenberg after Comfortably Zoned on YouTube, and it'll come right up, and you'll love it. It's how he ran the deli, who he associated with. It's just a terrific interview. And I wasn't there, and I didn't listen to it, but he brought his wife back for an interview, how they shared their lives. Very, very interesting. So that's a plug for the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network.
Yeah.
Archived on YouTube, Comfortably Zoned, Murray Trachtenberg. You punch that in once you get to YouTube, and there you go.
Okay.
Italian food that I miss in New York. I was thinking about this. You guys remember Mama Leone's?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
That was some great.
That was the big graduation place. You went there for graduation. Mama Leone's.
I didn't know that, but that's.
Does that have a reputation?
I didn't graduate.
Sort of as a tourist place,
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it did develop that, right? Yeah.
But I remember some archaic rooms, beautifully decorated wall hangings and what have you. A little kid with a high voice. May I have a little more antipasta, sir?
No, that's not even. That's gone now, isn't it? There is no Mama Leone's anymore.
No, there is none. Correct. As there is no Carnegie Deli.
But I remember. I remember my wife and I went there. I think we were dating at the time. So we went to Mama Leone's, and she was wearing jeans or something. I forget. They wouldn't let us in. There was a dress code.
Really?
Yeah, there was a dress code at Mama Leone's. Yeah, and I forget what it was. What the dress code that we didn't obey was. But that was a really strange thing.
David,
that was good. And the other one was there was a big Chinese restaurant downtown, right off Broadway, that a lot of people went to, and I can't think of the name of that.
House of something.
House of Chan. That's it, Mike.
Oh, I was going to say that. There you go.
There you go.
Wow. I'm
very good. Very good.
Both of you did not put it in question form.
No, House of Chan. I remember I took my parents there. That was a biggie. That was
yes.
House of Chan.
Right.
You remember we went to Becco? I always pronounce it wrong. The Bupo.
Yes. Yeah, that was great, Mike. Yeah. Bupo de Becco, Bupo de Beppi, or Bupo de Beppi, something like that.
Was that also now 10 years ago when we all got together in Washington? Remember we went to an Italian place? Maybe
it might be different. But then when we were out seeing you, we went to a Bupa de Beppi.
Yeah, right.
And if you haven't been to one, Ralph, you really have got to try it.
Pronounce it.
You can. The walls are just filled with pictures of like Frank Sinatra, and you remember Miss Subways when they had the big Miss Subways?
Yeah.
Reingold.
Yeah, Miss Rheingold all of these pictures are up on these walls, and they even have what they call a Pope's room in this restaurant, which has a light-up head of the current Pope at the center of this round table. And remember, we ate in the kitchen there. Remember we ate. They had this table set up in the kitchen. We ate watching.
Yeah.
It's a wild place. I didn't realize it was a chain until until we actually went to the one near you, because I only knew the one here in D.C.
You might say something
Oh,
so maybe that is where we went.
Yeah, I know we did. Oh, yeah, well, we were here today. Yeah, that's probably true, too, yeah.
Oh, wow. And it has been 10 years. Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah.
10 years next month. Woo!
Yeah.
Will you agree with me, gentlemen, that the older we get, the faster time flies? That when we were kids, it took forever to become of age. And now, boom.
Yeah, the only thing that flew by when I was a kid was a summer vacation. I mean, it seemed to go like, bam, one day you're out and the next day you're back there. That's what it always seemed to me.
Now it's crazy. Like my grandson's starting kindergarten this fall. They go back to school, in public school, you ready? August 14th. That's like, what?
What's the reason for that?
I don't know. It's stupid. Big reason. It's stupid, but also it's still so hot. Not that it can't be hot in September and October out here, but if those kids don't have air conditioning, you can't have little kids
in
school in the middle of
what
August.
You're not saying, Michael, is that they go into school August 14th, but they break for winter vacation August 26th.
It's part of Jerry Brown's improved education plan.
That's great. They do get off from school in early June, I think, but still, no, that's funny.
But we never had any air conditioning when we were in school. There was no air conditioning, and we went right to the end of June, if you recall.
That's true. I don't remember. Yeah, we were a hearty bunch.
We were. Over 80 degrees, the boys, we could take our ties off. They never told the girls what they could take off, but the boys could remove their ties at 80 degrees and above.
God,
that was the air conditioning. That was the air conditioning. You opened the windows and you took your tie off.
Oh.
Did you guys have to wear ties every day?
Yes.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah.
Where?
Pearl Thaler Institute.
In 80 we did?
Yeah, you don't remember these things.
Boy, I gotta go. No.
Oh yeah, I mean you look at. Well, I know that doesn't really apply, but of course all the school pictures.
Right.
Everybody's dressed in them, but I have some pictures. I don't know what they did at 94, but at 80, every once in a while a photographer would come around and one of the things I was good at was painting using Bonami, the scouring powder, and powdered paint to paint the windows in the classroom. You'd paint, like for Thanksgiving, you'd paint turkeys and stuff. And I
do remember that.
Remember that? Yeah. Windows, right. So I was one of the good artists, so I was one of the top.
Yeah.
I was sort of like the Michelangelo of I didn't have to paint the ceiling, but the windows I did a good job of. And so I have pictures, I have one picture, for example, of Bank Day. Bank Day was when you put 50 cents in an envelope, and it was whisked off to one of the local banks and deposited in an account you had. They set up accounts for all the kids. And then the envelope would come back the next week, and inside would be like a picture of an animal from the Bronx Zoo or something. That was like a little reward, and you throw in $1 or 50 cents, whatever your parents would give you every week. So they came in, the photographers came in, and they took these pictures, and they had me as the banker sitting there at the table, and I've got my tie on, and there are a couple of the other students who are there, supposedly the bank customers, and there are two boys there, and they're both wearing ties, and the girls were dressed, appropriately, let's say. So yeah, ties were. On Thursday, you're supposed to wear a white shirt and a blue tie for assembly.
That I remember.
Yeah.
Oh, but I didn't remember that at all. Maybe, was I there?
Yeah. Well, I'm cursed by this memory of, 1950s Bronx edition. I can put out a special book on that stuff.
I just remember a lot of the girls.
Oh, yeah.
But I still want to call and ask if they want to go to the movies, but I may be too late.
Well, either that.
I dream about some of the girls back then.
Well, they might still be available. You never know.
Yeah, they might.
Available again. They've come around. The husbands maybe have passed on. You don't know.
Which is
hard to find them.
So not more so than
the wife passing on, but
I just realized something. I am so not choosy that if they passed on, that doesn't bother me.
Oh, I'm talking the husband's passed on.
I'll still take them something they want to go for maybe a sandwich.
All right.
Or go over to either Schweller's or to the Jade Garden for a good Chinese meal.
Yeah, that's where that was.
Everybody went. That was yeah.
And you can stop for an egg cream along the way.
Absolutely.
That's always nice. That is the thing I miss about, and they don't even have egg creams like they did back then.
No.
They don't have the luncheonettes or the candy store.
No, right. That's right. Mm-hmm. The luncheonettes were particularly good. Those were really good places.
Oh,
you went in, you sat down at a booth, and you could get one of these great chocolate malteds that came in that, silver cylinder.
The round stool that would
the round stool. Right, yeah.
Yep. Yes, there was...
but I remember
speaking of the 50s or 60s, if I could just bring this in, because I was watching again CBS This Morning, the show that's on this morning. And they did a piece about Robert Kennedy, and they interviewed Pete Hamill.
Oh, mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
And he and Jimmy Breslin are my favorite writers, then and now. Mm-hmm. And Hamill got old. Well, I looked him up. He's 82.
Oh, is he? Wow. Well, we had a Hamill supporter on. Remember, Ralph? We had he wrote a book and
yes, I was thinking of that.
Pete Hamill was
Scott Russell.
Scott Russell
has wrote a book with Peter Hamill as a fictitious character. It's fiction, but he is an absolute idol is Scott Russell of Hamill, and for good reason. Those guys are great. Breslin too. Can anybody play this game? And
gang that couldn't shoot straight.
He really picked up on New York as the crusty, down to earth New York that you see at a neighborhood bar, at a ball game.
Well, I think both of them did too a lot. That's why I loved reading them. And in this interview, Hamill, I guess he was very close with Robert Kennedy.
Yes. In fact, a little known fact, when Jackie Kennedy was eluding the press, I think it was after the time when she married Ari, the show, Onassis, and divorced him. She actually was staying with Pete Hamill in Pete Hamill's home. That's where she was hiding. and no one knew it.
Well, and just now when I was looking up, again, Hamill, they're showing pictures, and there were pictures of Hamill with Jackie Kennedy.
Mm-hmm.
So, and also with Shirley MacLaine. I met him and didn't meet him. I was at a club, and anyway, I see he was there with Shirley MacLaine, and so it was interesting seeing pictures. I guess they were together for a while.
Yes,
he was talking about, and then there's an article I haven't read yet in today's paper. Would history have been different if Robert Kennedy had lived with? And it said, would he have? I don't mean to get serious here, but taken us out of Vietnam much sooner than. And then it was just a guy of the people. We still met. It was a horrible thing. I think it changed everything.
Oh, it did. Well, that whole year, '68. That's where there are all these commemorative pieces. I mean, it was 50 years ago. It's hard to believe. Yeah, it's hard to believe it was 50 years. It's a half century ago. You know, and it definitely. I mean, there were definitely changes as a result of that year. But yeah, I mean, had John Kennedy lived, things would have been different too.
Right.
You know, you can't go back like that. I mean, it's one thing to think about it. Sure, it's interesting.
Martin Luther King was in his 30s.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
What he accomplished in his 30s and his ability to bring people together. And you imagine if he got to live just a normal lifespan. That's all.
A normal lifespan, he'd probably still be alive. Could still be alive.
Absolutely.
Yeah, could. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But sometimes, you know, these people, in one sense, it's almost better for people like this to die. You know, the poet, to an athlete dying young, you die young and you're frozen in time. Who could think of Marilyn Monroe as an old lady? You can't.
Right.
And when you see some actresses who are way past their prime, you say, oh, this shame. Look what she looks like now. You know, I used to love her. Anybody, any actress, I'm saying, you know, that a really terrific-looking actress who is now in her 80s, let's say.
Yes, Summer. We've talked
you
about.
Could say the same thing about actors too.
Oh yeah, but I'm not attracted to actors, so it doesn't make.
Right.
Well,
I mean, I look at the women.
Doris Day is 95.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
I was saying if she gets to be 96, sell.
Yeah, right. They say she used to take baths in milk to keep her complexion looking good. I don't know. That was a story I heard. I've never taken a bath with Doris Day, so I wouldn't.
An animal lover.
I'd take advantage of the offer if it came to me. But
oh, here I'm clicking on a picture of her right now, and I don't think we'd recognize her. Just looks like
no, I'm sure not.
Still somewhat. She looks. For 95, she looks very good. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I'll bet.
She's alive.
Yeah.
It's alive. It's alive. It's alive. But
that looks good. That looks better than the alternative.
That's right. And that's one reason, Mike. Don't try dating any of our old girls from junior high school.
No.
They won't look like they used to. Nor will we, of course, but that's, you know, who cares?
Nor will we.
No, right. I know.
But memories intact.
Yep. Keep the memories alive.
All right, guys.
Here we go.
With that in mind,
I have to, talk about memory things. One of the guys I was working with over the weekend, we all had dinner together, and I forget how it came up, but one of my colleagues and I raised the issue of Shirley Temple, and he said, "Who's that?" This young, yeah, who's that? You said, you've never heard of Shirley Temple? No.
Well, I wonder if they heard of Shirley Temple Black.
No, he didn't.
And her politics when she...
It's just amazing.
I'm not trying to be a wise guy. Would they know Shirley MacLaine even?
Probably not.
Get Shirley Temple.
I just saw parts of that Around the World in 80 Days. She plays the sort of Indian princess that.
With David Niven, right?
Yeah. And I thought that was kind of neat. I mean,
that was a very neat movie.
Oh yeah.
1958, 1959.
Right. Oh yeah. And it was not in 3D, but it was in a Cinerama type screen. So if you watch it on television, you'll see these shots of the front of at the front end of a train, and the tracks are all, and these kinds of scenes, sort of wide vista scenes.
That was shot. Was that like Todd A.O.?
Yes, you're right, Mike. Yes, Todd A.O. Right. That was what it was done. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yesterday,
may I ask you, because I forgot. Michael was saying that his favorite authors or journalist authors,
Pete Hamill and.
Anyway, my mind slips. Who are yours, David? Come back to me.
At what age are you talking about?
Say 16. Mine was Updike.
Oh, I didn't read Updike till much later. I didn't read Updike. I did like I like Thomas Hardy. I liked his novels. Never met him though. And who else? I don't remember. At 16, I was reading a lot of classic comics, so there were a lot of authors that went through my library. Robert Heinlein, I would say. I really enjoyed reading Robert Heinlein, Robert A. Heinlein, as he went by. But I did an interview.
You guys laugh more than anybody.
Good question.
Start with Michael.
Yeah, go, Mike.
Oh, whoa. I would say, I still go back to Max Schulman and S.J. Perelman.
Oh, yes. Max Schulman was Dobie Gillis.
Right.
Yes.
A Rally Round the Flag Boys, Sleep Till Noon.
Right.
It was.
Okay.
I loved reading that.
Oh, you were talking. Yeah, I was thinking of TV people. What's the Mouse That Roared? Leonard Wimberly. I thought that was a hysterical book. They made a film out of it with Peter Sellers. The book was.
Yes. Oh.
Remember? Yeah, it's a very funny book. Very funny.
Thurber wrote some great stuff too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there was a guy, William Goldman.
Oh, sure.
I'm confused with Golding, but he wrote The Thing of It Is and Boys and Girls Together, which
William Goldman.
Yeah, not the screenwriter who did Adventures in the Screen Trade, and he wrote a wonderful book about how impossible it is to really write a film script that's yours. Yeah, nobody knows anything. Well, something about it's not final until the final cut. It had all sorts of wonderful little aphorisms in it. But I remember that William Golding. Yes, I think I might even have it. There was a
Goldwyn with
Goldman.
Huh.
Goldman, yeah.
Goldman.
Another unheralded author whom I enjoyed reading, and I looked him up. I think he has subsequently passed on, but his name was Gerald Rosen, and he wrote this very funny book, Growing Up Bronx. To bring us back to our old neighborhood. Yes, it's a really hysterical book. And Ralph, you would like him because he sort of had that 60s hippie kind of look to him, for a long time. He was living in California actually for many years, and it's one of the funniest books I've read. It didn't do very well, of course. It was so local, but anyone who lived in the Bronx at all, even if it was just to visit your grandparents, would really get a laugh out of this book.
All right.
What's the name of it again?
Growing Up Bronx.
3
words. Yep. Gerald Rosen. Mm-hmm.
May I ask you guys if you read Robert Rimmer, Growing Up?
No, I did not.
He wrote about alternative relationships, the rebellion of Yale Merritt, and a few other books that were very interesting. And thought you might.
I guess I tended, especially as later teens and 20s. Remember Jack Douglas?
Oh,
yes,
absolutely.
yes.
My brother was an only child.
Yeah, my brother. Yeah, right. Oh, yes, of course, of course.
And then there was a guy. There was a bunch of humorists. One who wrote about TV, and oh gosh, I can't remember his name. He had a big chin.
That guy.
Bean, Orson Bean.
No, I know. No. This is just an author, not an actor.
Oh, okay.
Well, I remember about 16. My favorite author was Grace Metalius.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I liked.
Because you had to read
about it. East of Eden really got to me. I remember reading that and was just. It just grabbed me.
Steinbeck, yeah. But Peyton Place had a special place in my heart among novels.
Oh, yeah, because it had the forbidden word that parents didn't really want you to see.
Or read.
Well,
yeah.
It is? Peyton Place?
I have an annotated copy of Peyton Place.
Oh.
Yes.
So I thought that was the first experience I had with, it must be pretty good if they're taking it away.
Yeah. Banning it in Boston, which it was. I mean, that was a sign. That was a sign if you had to go out and read it. If it was banned in Boston, boy, you wanted to get that book.
There's a wonderful bookstore in Alameda. It's not as wonderful anymore since my friend Nick became. He used to run it, and now he moved to Boston. But he had a display up of all the books that were at one time or another banned, including the Bible and Catch-22, this, that, and the other thing. And I, somewhere in my archive of pictures, I took a picture of that display, and I'll try to find it if I can. And it's very interesting how mores of, they choose to ban books. Anybody who chooses to ban books is Meshuggah.
Why Catch-22? Was it language?
I don't know, but I remember that Catch-22 was on that banned book thing.
And
anti-military when it first came out.
Oh, could be.
And of course, Lady Chatterley's Lover. That was the all-time big hit.
Right, and then there was the book about the little blonde vixen. I can't think of her name.
Lolita?
That was it.
Lolita, sure, yeah.
Yes, that was an excellent book for a little guy to grow up on, as it were.
You can read that, in waiting for the next Hardy Boy book to come out.
Well,
yeah, right.
That's it. I just want a diverse education.
Years after that, and I don't remember, I can't remember when, but there was a book that was so graphic called Last Exit to Brooklyn. You guys even ever heard of that?
I remember a tree grows in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Oh, this was a lot different. This was down and dirty.
It sounds familiar. It does sound familiar to me, but I can't recall.
And reading about it wasn't so much gangs, it was just the poor people and the sex, and I remember reading it going, whoa, we're in a different planet. It was so brutally honest. But
it sounds like a Stone for Danny Fisher. That book was...
one of my favorites.
Yeah, same.
One of my favorites, a rebel who fought off Nazis, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same book.
I know. Was that Evan Hunter?
Evan Hunter, I think it was, yeah. Who actually...
One for Danny Fisher. Was it Saul? Was that...
A Stone for Danny Fisher? I think Mike's right. I think it was
a stone.
Evan Hunter. A stone? You know, when you put stones on a cemetery, on the stone, you put little stones to show you've been there.
Yeah, right.
Well, that's what it is.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, that's what the title referred to, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah. And Evan Hunter, actually, he grew up in the Bronx. And that was his nom de plume, because he went to Evander and he went to Hunter.
And then
College.
to Hunter.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right?
But I can't yes. Yeah, I can't remember what his actual given name was.
His given name was Walton Clinton.
His
name was Bronx Science Clinton.
or DeWitt New.
Well, I have a surprise for you guys. Sometimes my memory failed me. I had to push the button on Google. A Stone for Danny Fisher. Harold Robbins.
Harold Robbins, right. He wrote a bunch of steamy ones.
Oh, we were wrong.
Yeah, we were wrong on that one. But even Hunter, it's good to mention him as one of those. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You're right about how he wrote very prolific guy. Probably
yes, he was. Yeah.
15 of them. Imagine how much money those guys made in the day when books were books, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and they didn't automatically go to film either. You know, I mean, a lot of those books had to wait years to become films, if ever they were.
Sometimes you didn't get the job to rewrite the book into a film. I'm sure one didn't get that job.
It says here, Evan Hunter wrote Blackboard Jungle.
Right. That was Mm-hmm. Which they did turn into a movie.
Oh, sure.
You remember?
Sidney Poitier, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and what's his name was in it? The actor who got killed.
Ford.
Glenn Ford was in it, yeah. And also the actor who got killed on the set, I forget his name. He was in a army kind of show set in World War II.
Oh, I know. Yeah, he got in a helicopter.
Yes. Oh. Yep. Mm-hmm. I can't think of his name.
I have Evan Hunter's real name.
Go, what is it?
Albert Lambino.
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 Mm-hmm.
You know who else was in Blackboard Jungle? Jamie Farr.
I didn't remember that. But the actor who died, he was like the tough guy. He was the ringleader of the bad guys.
Yeah.
It's interesting too in those films how really not bad they were bad. I mean, when you think of today, what goes on in some of the schools, and so some of these kids are really nuts. To wit, you know, the guys that go around shooting up schools. Vic Morrow, right? Exactly.
Yes, Vic Morrow.
There you go.
You know, and he's supposedly the player. Another really good Bronx author was Avery Corman. I think he might stay. I think he's still around. I interviewed him a couple of times at the book show. He wrote one about turning 50, and then, of course, he did The Old Neighborhood.
I'm looking right at it on my shelf.
Which, The Old Neighborhood or?
Yep, I'm looking right at it.
Yeah, I have it too. I have that in paperback, and I have the hardback of Turning 50, which now seems like, teenage years.
I was going to say Turning 50.
There was a book called Starting Over.
Yeah.
And I can't think of the author's name. He wrote a few books, and that'll come to me. But very interesting. As I went through a divorce about the time I was reading that, or break up in a relationship, whatever it was, and I read what this guy's thoughts were as another man going through the same.
Well, that's, it was Avery Coleman who wrote Kramer versus Kramer.
Right.
Which about the divorce. A very interesting book about starting over is called New Life, the Bernard Malamud book, about a college professor who leaves New York and goes out to, I think, Portland, Oregon or someplace, which is what he did, and he wrote a very good novel about that.
Starting Over, was that a movie? Was Burt Reynolds?
It might have been.
Horn or...
But Bernard Malamud was A New Life. That was the name of his book. But Starting Over is familiar to me, but I can't think of...
I can't either, and I Googled it, and...
Oh, you can't find it? I'm doing the same thing.
No.
It was...
No, I can't find it. That'll be our homework for next week, Jeff.
Okay.
We'll come up with something.
Read the first 3 chapters of The Adventures of Augie March and write an essay.
Right. And write it.
500-word essay.
And you know what? You got to remember your penmanship. It's getting a little sloppy.
Now we type.
That hasn't been said in a school since 1958.
You're probably right. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think we've talked about that. They don't even teach it anymore.
No. In some school districts they don't. Right. Mm-hmm.
And for years, and now especially with every kid having an iPad or whatever the hell they have.
Oh yeah, you never get the experience of.
No.
You can take notes in class. You can record class notes. You just don't get to be cursive.
The one thing I regret is never having learned really how to type. I mean, really type, on a keyboard. Yeah. And most of the kids today certainly have me beat that way. I was working with a colleague who was covering a speech at the commencement exercise, and he was just sitting there with his laptop, and he was just dictating. He had the whole speech. Within a few words of the speaker, he had it down on paper in his computer already. I can't.
Oh, really?
Wow. Yeah, I can't do that. I wish I could. But I think it's a little too late to go back and take a high school typing class.
Well,
they wouldn't let me.
It doesn't have to be typing. And I came up with starting off. It's Dave Ferguson. Dave Ferguson?
I have Starting Over based on the novel by Dan Wakefield.
Dan Wakefield, yes. You came up with it first. Yes. Very good. Dan Wakefield.
There was a movie with Burt Reynolds, Jill Clayburgh, and Candice Bergen.
Ah.
Yes, a movie that didn't do the book justice. It just had celebrities in there, but it fell short, if I remember correctly.
And then there was Philip Roth's Letting Go.
Oh, yes, Philip Roth, rest his soul.
Oh, yes.
No, he's not dead.
Yes,
Philip Roth just died about...
Oh, that's right, he did, because I was thinking he'd retired from writing. Yes, he did just die, of course.
There was another book about New York City by a Roth, and I can't...
Oh, yes, I know exactly who you're talking about. I have all 4 of his books, and a good volumes 2 and 3 Oh, when he went to Clinton. Yes, it's I can't see that far down my bookshelves, but they're there. And no, seriously, the first one was a dynamite. Well, the first one actually died a very quick death until it was resurrected, and then people began to realize this was a classic. And yeah, Roth. Oh gosh, I can't see it from here. But anyway. He started at Bronx Science, and he stole somebody's pen, and they threw him out. This goes way back. This goes like to the 1920s, and so as a result, he wound up in Clinton. And the volumes that I have even have photographs of him in Clinton in high school with the rifle team or something else. And I wish I could.
Was it Henry?
Sounds good. Sounds Henry Roth. And then he disappeared after that. He was totally gone. Nobody knew where he was. He disappeared for like about 40 years. And in that time, he wrote the other 3 volumes, which were only published soon after his death. So the 4 of them constitute like his whole body of work. But if you talk among yourselves for a second, I'll go get the book. I can't reach it from here.
David, call it Sleep.
Call it Sleep. Yes, exactly.
There you go.
Yeah, and it was Henry.
Yeah, it must be Henry. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it might. Could it be Arthur Roth?
No.
He was a novelist and a columnist.
No, it's I can get it in 1 second. Hold on.
Okay.
I think it says Henry, or it says Henry. Requiem for Mercy of Dead. I mean, I have it as Henry.
Okay.
I'm back.
H.
Henry Roth.
Yeah.
There you go.
Arguably the most distinguished work of fiction ever written about immigrant life. The New Yorker magazine.
I will definitely.
He died in 95. Born in the Austro-Hungarian province of Galicia, so that made him a Galiciano. And he landed in Ellis Island.
To a Litvak, if anybody's out there listening and taking notes.
He landed in Ellis Island in 1909 and began life in the Lower East Side.
You know, let me ask you this: what's the difference between a Litvak and a Galician? Our family was either one or the other. I didn't know. I don't remember. But what's the
from where they came?
The Galicianos are the Polish side.
We were Galicianos. Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't recall. The Litvaks might have been from Lithuania. I don't know.
Very, very possible.
Could be. Yeah. Call It Sleep. A wonderful, wonderful novel.
Boy, I'm reading. Maybe when you're younger, when one's... by the way, it says Litvak, it says Lithuanian Jews, or Litvak, the Jews with roots in present-day Lithuania, Belarus, Latvia, and Sherman Oaks. Actually says that.
Yeah.
I'll be darned.
Yeah, I'm darned just listening.
Yeah.
When we were younger, was reading... Maybe this is an obvious question or obvious answer. Leave a bigger affect us more than today if you would pick up a novel. It's we would. Am I asking it correctly?
It affect the books I read are generally by the folks that are on the show regularly or guests on the show. So when I read a book, it certainly has an incredibly more significance than when I read as a stranger. So in answer to that, yes, But
because now that we're talking about it, like
my case is special from that. That's
Here's a great opening. This is from the prologue of Call It Sleep, which he wrote. It's just two sentences. The small white steamer Peter Stuyvesant that delivered the immigrants from the stench and throb of the steerage to the stench and the throb of the New York tenements rolled slightly on the water beside the Stone Quay in the Stone Quay along with new buildings of Ellis Island. The stench, very good. I like that line.
Yeah, well,
the stench from. Yeah.
We think of how heroic it was, but it must have been obviously just brutal coming across on it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, wow.
I know.
Well, and the uncertainty. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And that was a permanent departure. It wasn't like, well, I'm going to be back in 4 weeks, kind of thing, or I'll see you in 6 months, or come on over and visit. It wasn't like that, and that was a permanent separation, in so many cases. And in many cases, the immigrants themselves were like 15, 16, 17 years old, traveling by themselves, unfamiliar in most cases with the language too. So,
and hoping to meet up with that one relative that sponsored them.
Yes.
The
interesting thing, one of the interesting things was one of the first things the immigrants did, who actually came from the same town or village or whatever it was, they formed burial societies. That was, and you can still see them. Yeah, you could still see that in the old cemeteries in Brooklyn and Long Island. These burial so that at the very least you knew you'd be buried. Somebody would bury you when you died.
That's right. You paid money.
Preferably when you died, not before. Although that happened too. But seriously, that it was a very far-sighted vision that these people had. They needed a place to be buried, and they needed people to do it for them, and they would do it for others as a remarkable burial society.
Because everybody was poor, basically.
Yes, exactly.
They had a band together, and that's what insurance was how it got started. The idea of people taking care of themselves, each other. The profit only came into it when they brought big business into it.
Yeah, well, sure.
Initially, it was just a socialistic thing that...
yes, it was. Mm-hmm.
It took care of the neighborhood.
That's right. Yeah.
My father belonged to the Knights of Pythias. Yeah. I don't remember him ever going to a meeting while I was alive, but there was a plot in a cemetery for, I guess, people who belong to that organization.
Mm-hmm.
Which is maybe what you're talking about.
Wow.
That's interesting.
Better he should be in the Knights of Pythias than the Knights of Columbus.
Yeah.
Which was what, the Italian?
That's Roman Catholic. They wouldn't have buried him at all.
Very strict.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah, very orthodox, if you want to use that word with...
As if that's not a redundancy.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah.
All right, guys. Hey, listen, this is fun as usual, and...
That's very much so.
Yes. And it's not only entertaining, but educational, too.
Well, for me...
I mean, who has discussed literature so thoroughly in the last 15 years?
You're right.
Yeah.
Go out and get these books to our thousands of listeners.
Right.
All right. Yeah, get them any way you can.
Okay.
All right.
Take care. Speak to you later.
Thanks, everybody, for listening. And speaking of books, I'm going to throw this in here. It's a good segue. If you would be kind enough to box up some children's books, used, new, you get them anywhere you can and bring them to the Head Start program wherever you live. Get kids reading, get them to have an imagination, to develop their imagination, get them school ready, and get their noses, at least for a minute or two, out of the devices and the computers and the games and what have you. Just let them read a book. It's good. Bring them over. The people that need the books the most are oftentimes in the Head Start program and vice versa. So thank you for listening. Comfortably Zoned Radio Network. The show is Bronx Roots. David Hubler, Michael Preminger. I'm the weak link of it all from Queens, Ralph Tycho. Adios, everybody.